are now listening to Femme Regard podcast with Tessa Markle
and Carolina Alvarez.
Femme. Hello, listeners. So today's topic is marketing, branding, PR, all that fun stuff. And today's guest is our friend Julie. She is a writer, director. She has experience in many areas on set, including like script supervisor, all kinds of stuff. And she runs the company Citric Focus, which we'll talk some more with her about. But she really helped us
She's
find our brand
to the show.
Yes.
We love her.
Yes.
She helped us get this podcast going, and we're excited to kind of delve into what that was and how that was. But first tea. So what do we have today, Tessa?
So today I brought some caffeine. We have green tea with superfruit, which happens to be white mangosteen, I'm guessing is how you say it, peach. It is Lipton brand, and it's delicious. It's nice and sweet, but not overwhelming, nice and refreshing. Good start to the morning.
You can smell the mangosteen.
I know, I love
Whatever that means, you can.
Julie, are you a tea drinker?
I am.
Oh, lovely.
This is going to sound really silly, but my favorite tea is at the moment is throat coat.
Okay.
Which sounds ridiculous. It's I think herbal essentials or something like that makes it, and it's like
I know the one.
It's just got
that little, I don't know what to call it. It's like a hug to your vocal cords.
Yes, I love it.
That is what it gives.
The past couple days, I've been doing that with a slice of lemon and a half a cinnamon stick.
Oh my
and
God.
it's been delightful.
Perfect.
Amazing.
This smells amazing.
Well, Julie, we like to start off our sessions with a little game of utter nonsense. So essentially, break it down for you real quick. We have a phrase pile and an accent pile. So we're each going to hand out, you get 2 phrases, I get 2 phrases, and Tessa does. And we like to put our peeps on blast. So you're going to be the first. So you're going to choose an accent part. We're not going to see these cards.
Okay.
And we're going to try and guess which accent. And sometimes it's not always an accent.
Yeah, sometimes it's like a character or like a way of talking.
She's like cringe. She's like, was not ready. It's fun. It's great.
I can feel my face just get red right now.
Okay. So just pull one accent to start with. And then pick your first phrase to do with it.
To do with that. Okay. And I can look at them both.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Should I just go for it?
Go right on ahead.
I'm more comfortable handling raw poultry than I am sitting next to most people on the bus.
That was very newscaster. Amazing.
There you go.
She had her hands she was seated,
She looked like she was on
ready
the
to
news.
go on K News. Bam. I loved it.
Perfect.
Loved it. Perfect. All right, shall I?
Yeah.
Shall I do this? Oh God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. We had this one. Okay. Give me some room.
Uh-oh. This is a performance art piece.
Beyonce's newborn twins have more Insta followers than I do.
Listeners, just so you know, we had a little bit of some Beyonce dancing, and
We had a nice little leg kick there too at the end.
Yeah, thank you. A little.
I'm gonna go with interpretive dance.
Yes.
I don't know anything else it could have been at that point in the
Okay, Tessa.
All right. Let's see. Okay. Student loan debt is like, I'm broke, but I'm classy. Yes.
I feel like that could be so many things. like millennial privilege. Also,
No.
But it was like ghetto fabulous.
No, sometimes that is the case for this character. I'll give you that clue. It's a character.
My first thought was like YouTube superstar. That was
Some of these people are those.
Some of these people. Okay, so she's definitely a character.
Okay.
So what kind of like on TV kind of character?
A reality star?
No,
Kardashian?
there is a show on TV about them.
So not
Very-
the Kardashians.
Think like West Hollywood. Should I just tell you?
Yes.
Because you guys are narrowing it in, but drag queen.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha.
Saint RuPaul. RuPaul.
There we go.
All right. Well, back to you. We'll do one more round.
Oh,
each.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I do same accent?
Oh, no. You'll pick a new
Okay.
one.
Oh yeah.
Got
Here's
it.
a new one.
Oh my lord. Okay. Oh no. Okay. Okay, text me when he tells you where the party is, bitch. Love you. Bye.
Definitely like Southern, maybe more specific than that, but.
Slightly more specific.
Oh,
Redneck.
okay. Nice.
Redneck.
Nice.
Nice.
All right, Carolina. I love seeing people pick up the cards and they're like, oh God,
I know.
you got this.
I'm just a nasty woman living in this crazy covfefe world.
What was that sound at the end?
Are you a vampire?
Oh my God. I get it now. Okay.
Thank you, Julie. Saved me from having to do that again.
So funny.
I believe that at the end was you bearing your fangs.
I sold it.
Thank you. I was like, okay.
Okay. Okay. Even though I ain't slept, I still stay woke. Ho, ho, ho.
Santa?
Gotta love Santa.
All you can do is ho, 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 because otherwise it just sounds like a creepy guy. Like,
It's so true.
I think the new phrase for me is going to be whoa, ho, ho, ho.
nice.
Amazing.
right.
So thank you for being brave and doing that with us.
Yes.
We love it.
That was delightful.
So to bring it back, I was listening to the social media marketing podcast and this morning on my lovely commute here, and they were talking about conversion optimization, which essentially focuses on the message and the emotion that will bring viewers, people to the call to action. And something that they like really hit on with that. And it's essentially focusing on the message and the story rather than when you're doing marketing, like just the product or, you're, putting money into everything else but that. And, Tess and I on our last episode, we touched base on finding what makes you unique and your style and imprint. But at the end of the day, you can make your website look really beautiful with all, you can make your text bigger and your call to action button bigger. But I think that's just a very small part when it comes down to the message and the story. And that's when we first met with you trying to do Femme Regard podcast. We had no direction.
Yeah.
we were, yeah. And I think you have a gift, whether you know this or not, Julie. She's very humble. About finding that message. And I think you were kind of telling us before we got in here what you essentially do with Citric. I'm saying it right, Citric Focus.
Yeah.
Because we weren't in touch when you had launched it. And so do you want to tell us first what you do at Citric Focus? Because I think it nails on that point, which is so beautiful.
Absolutely. So Citric Focus, I get to work with tons of creatives, figuring out what their message is. What is the thing that you want to say in the world with your product being a thing or your script or your production. And once you know what that message is, then making sure whatever your product is relates to and echoes that message. And that's really the name of the game, because if you don't go into your process knowing what is this about, what do I want to say, then it all just comes out gobbledygook, and that's a quick way to have people turn off. So as soon as you know what you're doing, then we get to figure out what the steps are to make other people know what the message is that you're doing.
Totally.
Yeah. And like, you helped us find out, like, we really want to help the independent filmmakers out there who are just getting themselves together and even, hey, the established what just, because we bring on more experienced speakers who can talk about the various steps to this filmmaking industry. And so, but you helped us like lead into that. So
you helped us get specific with it, which I think was a big thing for us, like coming up with the term underdeveloped filmmaker, like really figuring out, okay, like it's not just, men versus women or a certain age group that I'm marketing to, but like, who is it that I'm marketing to? That was a big thing for us.
I think the word specific is a really great term. That's the reason why we're called Citric Focus and not Citric Storytelling. Yeah. Because a lot of people, especially creatives, have a whole bunch of great ideas, and figuring out what your message is and figuring out what you want to do is really just about weeding out that all the noise and all the great ideas you have, and figuring out what are the best ones, what are the best ideas, and what are the ideas that are what I want to say.
Yeah.
Can you touch a little bit on the process and like what that looks like? And just, you don't have to go in super detail, but
fine. So like when I first talked with you guys, and I know that was more of an impromptu thing, I like to ask people about, if there's one thing that they wish the world could know, what would that be? Like, what is that thing that you want to put into the world? Because anything that you do, like, I feel should have that weight. And granted, there can be lots of things that you want to put into the world and lots of things that you want to do with your time and with your art. But figuring out and saying to yourself, what is that thing? That's the important bit. So I like to have just kind of a long conversation with people about what they would like to say in the world in general. And then what is it with this piece that you want? I think y'all had said when we first met, like, we want to do a podcast for, underrepresented people. We want to create a space where people can kind of, just get some support.
Yeah.
And as we kind of had more of a conversation, that initial feeling winds up leaking into other ideas. Like, you had started talking about tea, and that if you connect tea to anything, I feel like you connect it to support. Like, it's warm, it's comforting. You've clearly created a space, both in the studio and over the airwaves, that has the air of support.
A throat coat, if you will.
Yes, you're so cute. She that's the Notebook, right?
Yes,
she has
the Notebook.
The Notebook of the night. It was very impromptu. We were at
Republic of Pie.
Of Pie. If you're here in the LA area, I don't know if it's like a nationwide thing, but you should go.
I think there's just one. It's in NoHo, and it's amazing. I highly recommend it. Like, I take all my meetings there. So
it's amazing.
May I?
Yes, please go for it.
So the things that I've got here that y'all wanted to do, you wanted to have education, you wanted to have a place for people to promote their work, community, and I have, with an exclamation point here, tea in every episode. And I have down here underestablished independent filmmaker. And those were just like brief notes from when we first talked. And as soon as you start talking about those things, they wind up taking root. And I feel like as soon as that root starts to grow, it leads to stronger other ideas that all come from that one place.
Yeah. And I love too, that night that we worked with you, I remember you saying at the end, like, well, you guys knew all this, like you came up with it. It came out of your brains, but you're really good at bringing that out. And I feel like a lot of people don't want to think about it themselves. They want to hire someone to like figure out all that stuff for them, but it's really got to come from them. If it's their product, their company, whatever, like they know what it is. You just have to bring it out of their brains.
And honestly, that's what I love doing. And that's why I created Citric Focus, not because I want to be a ghostwriter or because I think I'm like marketing's gift to the world or because I think I'm an amazing writer, whatever that is. It's all because I love helping people tell their stories. I just think that that's the best thing that you can do in the world.
Yeah. I love too, earlier before we started recording today, you were saying like, well, what I do isn't so much marketing, it's storytelling.
Yes.
I love that because it's not just, you're hiring a person to do your marketing. It's really telling the story of your product, your company, whatever it is, and figuring out those things of, what story do you want to tell?
It's really essential. And I'll be the first to tell you that I know very little about marketing. But what I do know is storytelling. And what I've researched and what I do know about marketing is that your product has to have the same story throughout. So if your story is, hey, we're an all natural green company, but our office is, a warehouse that's, running on a diesel engine or something like that, then that's not telling the story that you're trying to put out into the world.
And what I love about that too is marketing is like, a bunch of analytics nowadays, like looking at all the different demographics and I think that is all important to know, like knowing kind of who's gravitating your stuff. But at the same time, like if you have a really strong story and you kind of know the people that are going to kind of resonate with that, then that is the analytics right there. Like, and you can grow from that. It doesn't there's some universal, like love's a universal story, right? Like whatever that's just a broad term. But for example of that can reach worldwide, and so then I feel like those companies, like where I gave the example, like before entering today, Nike, they brought that as an example on the podcast. And I love that because they don't ever focus on the product and the analytics. It's the idea of you feel like you can do anything and you feel invincible. And that hits like the whole world. That's why they're top on sales and stuff. So I love that. You call yourself, I'm not a marketing person, but I'm a storyteller. And that's why we brought you on, because I think that is the key to being successful.
Yeah. It's a unique way to look at things like branding and marketing. And it's such a good way to look at it. It really, it makes the way that you brand and market yourself unique, and it brings something extra to it that not all companies do.
And if I can connect it specifically to, say, a script and say,
yes, let's go there.
We're talking about marketing and that sounds like, hey, like my flyers and my website need to be a specific way. But if you look at it in terms of a script, the work that I do deals very heavily with what Craig Mazin calls the central dramatic argument, where that's very specifically the message that your whole script argues. And the way, I'm going to walk that back, pardon me. That's the message that your whole script argues. So if you start off a script that's really about one thing and really kind of arguing one statement, and by the end of the movie you're arguing something completely different, that is not that's not maintaining your story. That's not having everything all together. But if you go into it with something along the lines of, I'm going to make the argument that I am my own authority. Okay, so what are all of the characters, all of the scenes, all of the feeling in this script has to relate back to that. Otherwise, this becomes a mess. And that's really what creates a streamlined script or streamlined story. So that's a script. And then in terms of kind of marketing or like keeping the story all whole as a filmmaker, that's about, okay, what kind of filmmaker am I? What kind of storyteller am I?
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, okay, I believe, because of that, I might dress a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
or I might make my website a certain way. My
Mm-hmm.
scripts are going to be a certain way. You're kind of doing all of that integration relates to the story that you're trying to tell about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really important. I think it's something that people don't really think about is like, you are your own brand. Like it's not, necessarily just the one script. It's you as a filmmaker, like you were saying. And, it's putting all of that together, like all of those elements is really important.
For me, as a filmmaker, I like to tell, I know about myself that I tell intimate journey stories. And when I look at all the work that I had done even before I started to think about that myself, they all wound up kind of fitting under that cap. And so now when somebody asks me, I hate this question, but so what kind of movies do you make?
Yeah.
I get to say, oh, I know, I do intimate, personal journeys.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they know what I'm about. I know what I'm about, and they can make decisions about how they're going to hire me, et cetera.
And so it kind of came through making some stuff that you found that you were drawn to that art story arc?
Yes,
Yeah.
I've had, I've done several works, and any of the films that I've worked on or things that I've written, they all seemed to gravitate back towards that. And I do think for anybody who hasn't done a lot of work, that it's not, it can be detrimental to make that statement about yourself and then make the work. I think it's better to really figure out what work you gravitate towards and then put the label on, because otherwise you wind up hamstringing yourself.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
No, totally. Because we're still like gauging what all that processing as we start to make new things, because we are, new to that.
Yeah.
And it is hard to, I hate that question too, because they're like, and what do you do? And it's like, no, we're not all horror, but maybe we will throw in like a horror, but there's a story within that we're more interested in rather than the genre itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
Well, before we wrap things up, Julie, let us tell our listeners where they can find you. If they want to work with you with Citric Focus or just your own work as a filmmaker, where they can find that, all that jazz.
So if you want to work with Citric Focus, and I would love to work with you, I seriously just love talking to people about their stories and what they want to do in the world. That's at citricfocus.com, which is CITRIC Focus, which is FOCUS.com. And if you want to see any of my work, you can go to juliehaberstick.com. And I have a very long name, so I won't spell that out.
We'll put her in the credits. You'll find her.
Well, yeah, you can actually, we will tag her on our Instagram for this episode. So keep an eye on that at Femme Regard, if you're not already following us, and on Twitter at Femme_regard. And of course, our website, www.femmeregard.com. And thank you, Julie, so much for coming on and speaking with us today
amazing.
And playing our games.
Yes.
We always love having you.
Thank you. It was really great to be here.
And thank you, listeners, for listening to another episode, and we will see you next time. Thanks for listening to Femme Regard Podcast. If you like what you hear, tune in next time for more tips on the filmmaking business and insightful conversations with industry professionals over tea.
We can only grow with your support, so please subscribe, share, rate, and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. If you leave us a great comment, we might give you a shout out on the show. For more on us, check us out at femregard.com.